Howdy folks, it's Virtual Schmied here with you guys today, specifically working on part 4 for this build in AtomFet. I want to give a little bit more explanation for what to do with this table. There's a lot here and it could look a little bit daunting, but if you like puzzles at all, it's actually not too bad to figure out. So first, let's talk about some of these columns up at the top. When I'm asking for something's full name, what I'm asking for is the element dash whatever its mass is. So when I say like hydrogen 2, I'm saying the element and then however much it weighs. The symbol, you guys already know how to decode or how to look at those symbols. The atomic number is really just a fancy way of saying number of protons. The atomic number is the same thing as number of protons. When I'm asking about mass number, I'm really asking about the number of protons plus the number of neutrons. And that makes sense because we know that electrons don't have any mass, or their mass is so tiny we can basically ignore it. But for the mass number, we just need to know the number of protons plus the number of neutrons. That tells us how heavy a specific atom is going to be. The number of neutrons is just that, the number of neutrons. The number of electrons is exactly what it says it is. It's the number of electrons. To calculate charge, usually what I like to do is take my protons, specifically my number of protons, minus the number of electrons. The reason I like to do that is because electrons themselves are naturally negative. So by subtracting away electrons, I don't have to mess with any positive negatives. I can just subtract it that way. So that's what these columns are really asking us to do there. Now I'm going to go through number 2, 3, and 4 here with you guys. Number 1 has already been done for you, so maybe that kind of gives you some hints on what to do. So for this first symbol on number 2, rather, it tells me that it is hydrogen 3. That little 3 up in the top-hand corner is telling me the mass. So right away from that symbol, I know the name is hydrogen 3. And because I know that it's hydrogen, I actually know the number of protons as well. I can go to the periodic table and I can look at and see, okay, I know that it's going to have an atomic number of 1. That is hydrogen, atomic number 1 right there. So I know that it has atomic number of 1. Its mass number is going to be its neutrons plus its protons. I already know the mass number from the name, though. The fact that it's called hydrogen 3, or the 3 right there, tells me that it has a mass of 3. The neutrons here get a little bit tricky, though. I know that its total mass is 3. One of those is from the proton, so it has to have 2 neutrons. And here's how I did that. I took my 3 total for mass, and I subtracted my protons. 3 minus 1 gives me 2 neutrons. Not 22 neutrons, 2 neutrons. And that is the answer for that box. There's 2 neutrons there. Okay, for the number of electrons, I actually have to talk about charge to really be able to know that first. So the charge, in the symbol right there, it tells me that the charge is plus 1. So I know that my charge is plus 1 there. That can tell me a couple different things. There's different ways to talk about this. Really what it tells me, though, is that I've got 1 more proton than I have electrons. That's why it's a charge of plus 1. So since I've got 1 proton, I can't have any electrons, so that it must be 0 electrons. All right, moving on to sodium 22. This time I'm given the name and the symbol, and I have to figure out a lot of this other stuff here. So because I know that it's sodium, right away I can go to a periodic table and I can look up sodium. There he is on the left-hand side. Sodium is atomic number 11, so I know that's how many protons it has because that's its atomic number. So it's got 11 protons. The mass number is given to me in the symbol or in the name. The mass number is 22. And then to figure out my number of neutrons, just like I did before, I have to subtract. I know that it's 22 total mass. Subtract 11 protons. And I get 11 neutrons out of that. All right, the charge is, once again, it just says plus there, but if there's no number after the plus or the minus, we just assume that it's 1. Chemists like to get lazy. So I know that my charge is plus, or you could put plus 1 as well. So as far as figuring out my total number of electrons, it's already done that for me. I know that since I have 1 more proton than I have electron, the charge of plus 1 makes sense. All right, number 4 here, and we'll mess with how to type into the symbol box a little bit. So on number 4, it doesn't give me really anything except the number of protons and the mass number. But that's all I really need. Since it told me that the atomic number is 12, that's how many protons I have, I can go to my periodic table. 12 is magnesium, symbol Mg, so I know what the element is now, and I can go fill that out for its name. So I know that it is magnesium, and it already told me its mass number is 24, so I can call it magnesium-24, or just magnesium-24. When I'm doing the symbol here, I put it in this way so that you guys can actually put the subscripts and the superscripts in their right little spots. When you're writing by hand, it's easy to do. When you're on the computer, it's a little bit more tricky. So the middle box there is for the symbol. I can put Mg there. The top left box I know is going to be for the mass number, so I'm going to put 24 there. The bottom left box, you can skip, because the bottom left box just tells you how many protons there are. But if you know the symbol, you know the number of protons. Magnesium has 12 protons. That's part of its identity. So you can leave that bottom part. It looks like it disappeared on me, but you could also just leave that one blank because you already know what it is. For the charge here, though, that's the last box I have to fill out. So for the charge, I know that is going to be protons minus electrons. In this case, that is going to be 12 protons minus 12, and I'm going to move my own head out of the way, minus 12 electrons for a charge of 0 or neutral is a lot of times what we'll call that. Okay, so I know that my charge is 0. You don't have to put anything in that top right-hand box if the charge is 0. You could put a 0 there, but a lot of times chemists just straight up leave that blank. So if there is no charge, we don't have to put anything in that box. Last thing I'm going to fill out here is my number of neutrons, same subtraction. 24 minus 12 gives me 12 neutrons. Alrighty, folks, hopefully that gives you enough knowledge and enough confidence to go through and fill out the rest of these boxes on this practice table. As always, hit up Virtual Schmied if you need any more help, or hit up Live Schmied if you guys need more help from him as well. But for now, this is Virtual Schmied. Out.